when L'Opera began, my first reaction was that, oh, this is like when La Meridian opened.
Yes.
Nobody calls it La Meridian. They call it Meridian.
Meridian. Yes.
It came during the Asian Games, the first Asian Games, and everybody just calls it Meridian. As in, who will say La Meridian? It's like, it's not going to happen. And when La Opera opened, I said, why are they calling it La Opera? It's never going years ago. But yes, go ahead. How did it happen?
Yes.
So tell me your story. So how did you decide?
The first part Christine said. So then we decided to be here just to be close to our children. I continued to travel. I was
and my granddaughter also was born here. So
yes, your granddaughter. So now in the meantime, they were 4.
Yeah.
My offices and my residence was in other parts. I was mainly in Sydney, Tokyo, and Hong Kong. And I was residing also there.
Singapore, right?
In Singapore. That was my residence and everything. But I would spend about 10 days, 15 days sometime. I would come and visit the family here. So then at exactly that same time, our son was finishing his studies. And as part of his business school diploma, he had to spend 6 months overseas and to write a report. And he came to India. He interned with the Usha company, the household, the fans, etc. And during these 6 months, he was looking for good, high-quality French bakery products and Viennese and breads. And he sensed that, yes, there were some products in 5-star hotels, but you had to go inside the 5-star hotel. And the shape was good, but the quality, that's a different story. So he had the idea, once he came and said, why don't we start a business doing that? Now, nobody in our family is baker or pastry chef. So I'm an electronics engineer. Our son had a business degree. Christine is a sociologist.
Is a doctor, is a PhD in...
It's totally
daughter, lawyer.
But I must say that I had worked at that time in over 60 different countries. I knew something about business, what you need to do, how to prepare a business plan, etc. So we engaged during almost 1.5 years in studying the market and going through all details. Actually, at one point of time, the French embassy lent us for 1 week the kitchens of the French embassy to do some testing with Indian locally available raw materials.
French chef.
We had hired a French chef, etc. So I know exactly the date. On the 31st of December 2009, we decided to start the project L'Opera. And because I know the date, because from 1st of January 2010, the prices of equipment would go up 6%. So we just placed the purchase order in 2009. And the rest of it is history. We went from one outlet. We started inside the French embassy. We still operate a L'Opera inside the French embassy. Then in the golf course in Gurgaon, DLF Golf, and then our first high street was in Khan Market, the shop which is still our flagship store, and then ever since it developed. It has been, I have had, this is for me my 6th startup, and I have been in really very, very different areas. At the beginning, I was teaching. Then I was involved in feasibility studies for nuclear power plants. Now we produce croissants. But I must say, this is the sweetest part of the career that I have had, because you can just bring joy and happiness to people.
Yes.
Nobody, nobody can be unhappy unless you don't provide good products. But we try not to.
No, I'm completely biased. I have never walked out of your patisserie and seen anybody not happy with what they have. It's service with a smile, and it's enjoying the food. And that's the entire French bakery experience, right? Yes. To take back something feeling happy about the product. And I'm not saying it's just about a bakery. That is what one looks for, even if I enter for chole bhature, or if I'm going to, just a coffee shop or whatever I go to, if it's a happy zone, I'm sitting with people who are engaging in conversations. I gently want to sit there, watch the world go by while I sip my coffee and have a croissant, or I might just have something just small to eat, but feel happy.
Yes.
And that's true that this gives us much encouragement. You know, in our life, as Kazem said, we did a lot of things in education, social, and profession, etc. Many, many things. But with this l'opéra, we feel that the people are really happy. I mean, guest or customer or whatever, they are really happy. So this happiness gives us also the courage to continue. And so I'm so happy to hear that you have also the same
ingredients. I want to ask you
ingredients.
about ingredients. Was it difficult initially, and is it easier now? And how did you plan to import it or locally source it? What did you do?
Kazem can
Shall I
better
say? Yes.
respond.
This is a complex question, and it is an ongoing question. It's not something that we could solve, but we had some principles. First principle was that we would never compromise on quality. The second principle was that if anything was produced and sourced in India, we would go first for that. Because we came here not to export French products into India. We wanted to create something French in and with India. And we know India is so resourceful. So answering your question, yes, we started, and the time we started, we were using Indian flour. We were using whatever was available here, the sugar or some of the fruits which were available. Then there are some elements that you couldn't have at that quality. For example, in the initial years, we didn't import because that's a different business. We were using imported butter. We were using imported cream, and we were using imported chocolate. Now, if you look from now we are talking about 2011. Now we are here, 2025. For example, a French company is now producing the very high quality butter in India. So, and it is almost 1/3 of the cost of imported. So you must be out of your mind to import butter. Yes, it may be 2% or 3% higher quality, but what we have, French products produced in India, are absolutely satisfactory, and they are very good. Or, for example, flour. Indian flour is perfect. The challenge of India in this area, and I share when I am asked by people in the ministries or in different areas, the challenge is the storage. It's the silos. You see, at the beginning of the season, Indian flour is perfect. But then as you move into the season, after 10 months, 11 months, etc., the humidity, the gluten content, etc. So I hope one day, if that part of it... So with flour is a mix. We use Indian flour in the early season, then we have to use some imported flour in order to have consistency.
Okay.
Chocolate, India has not yet come in terms of industrial chocolate products. So our chocolates come from Belgium. These are Belgian chocolates. In terms of cream, we have a mixed situation. There are some Indian brands that are really good. And we can use their cream for products where, for example, you have chocolate and the chocolate overwhelms. If you want, even if there is a very slight taste or smell that remains in the Indian cream, you still smell a little farm. So if products are very delicate, that is not good. So we use a mixed, for some products we use imported cream, for the other products we use. But our commitment is, to the extent possible, Indian products. We want to create the value in India. Yeah. We are training Indians, and we want, sometimes we say we are an Indian company with a French heart.
Nice, with French heart.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I know what the French hearts are.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very interesting because, in my childhood, bakery products in India, really, I mean, like if you moved out of Delhi or Bombay or something and you went into smaller towns, the pastries and the cakes with these lurid colors and it, after a couple of hours, it would literally wilt like a flower.
Yes.
It would just wilt, and it was the cream. And of course, we didn't have refrigeration all that good refrigeration. So the patisseries were, after a couple of hours, their own products would go bad.
Yes.
So they would shut down because of that problem.
Yes.
When you started it, did you think that the Indian palate was ready for this taste of a French bakery? Did you think that?
It's a wonderful question. It's a great question. As I mentioned to you, we did in the initial phase when we were preparing to start l'Opéra, we did also focus groups. What we did, we produced French bakery and pastry products, and we invited expats, we invited Indians to come and to taste and tell us what they thought about it and how much we could charge for it, because there is also a
price element.
So we found that there was a sufficient market to start the business. But then it took us, and it takes us still. Now we just started our 15th year of operation. We started in 2011, so 14 years were completed in March 2025. We are the 15th year. We want to take very small credit of having familiarized at least the palate of the customers in Delhi with what a real croissant is. And then it's the question is always more complicated. It's never yes. You see, when we say the Indian palate, but the Indian palate is India is wide, it's broad, it's broad. And then you have many Indians. You have global Indians. You have Indians who have traveled abroad. You have Indians who have never went out and read about things, watch Amélie in Paris, etc. Eat her croissant, etc. So there was curiosity. Those Indians who had traveled overseas, they have gone to France or other countries, they know what a real croissant is.
Yes.
It has to have layered, it has to be crunchy. It is not just a bread in the shape of croissant.
Yeah.
So, those people over the years increase. And
I'm hungry now.
And that justified that now we went in Delhi alone, in this area, we went from 1 outlet to 18 outlets. Another 4 or 5 are under construction. So the taste evolved, even in the last 15 years. Those millions of Indians who travel to Europe and other parts of the world, once they had a good croissant, when they come back, they want to have it again.
Yes.
So those are traveled Indians. Then you have Indians who have lived abroad. Then you have young generations who are curious to discover. So the answer to the question is the palate is also evolving. And this helps us, obviously.
And there is the palette, and then what we try at least to do is also to have this experience of going in a little spot of Paris or France, with the decoration, with the art on the walls, etc. So this is also, we had this feedback from many guests or customers that when they go in one of our outlets, they feel something, different, something. So this is also what we try to bring.
I'm sure you brought that into that, right? You brought that. Do you cook?
Very bad.
Well, I must confess, the cook at our home is me. I really cook.
Okay.
But Christine takes care of everything else, because when you want to cook and you have guests, somebody has to invite them, somebody has to decorate the table, somebody has to take care of the music, etc. So we have a separation of tasks. It's not the traditional one, women in the kitchen, husband doing other things at our home, and I enjoy. And I
like.
Yes.
I used to find baking a stress reliever. Because you have to be so perfect at doing it. If you make one thing wrong, and when the children are growing up, you do all this. You experiment and stuff like that, and in fact, I used to make trifle from scratch. I still do trifle pudding. I would make it from scratch, and there was I don't know whether you've read Veer Sanghvi. He's
he's what?
Yes.
And then I will tell you something about Veer Sanghvi.
So he wrote about my trifle, and he said the best you get in Delhi is at Smita's table. So, and I was like, and then I remember my family saying, "Really, yours is the best?" It's like, no, he was being kind. He was very sweet, but yeah, it's like that. Yes, go ahead and tell me about Veer.
No, about Veer. When you start a business, we now speak so matter-of-factly easy, as if everything is easy, etc. It's not. We know that. It's difficult. You have challenges. You have everything, etc. And when we started operations in March of 2011. And towards the end of the year, we receive a recognition plaque. It's no particular event, no particular competition, etc. And Veer Sanghvi had created a plate praising the quality and the work of l'Opéra. This is one of the most precious pieces that you find in my office. Veer Sanghvi says the best bakery and pastry in Delhi. And it is, I will send you privately a picture of that. It is remarkable. It is so. We remain ever grateful because it was a recognition and coming from somebody like Veer Sanghvi.
But you were talking about people who are not familiar with some of the products. Veer, of course, is a widely traveled person, and he would know, a mediocre croissant from a well-made one. But there are also Indians who haven't heard of it. I don't know whether you've seen this, but there's an influencer. Now he's called an influencer, but he makes these reels, and so now nobody calls, like in social media, they call croissant as Prashant.
Oh, his name is Prashant.
No, his name is not Prashant, but he puts these pictures, and there's a voice which asks him, "What is this?" So he says the wrong thing always because he's this, gives this village bumpkin kind of a thing. I say, "What is this?" So the word comes back, and he says croissant. So he says croissant, Prashant. It's like not heard. Namaste, Jai Hind. You're watching ANI podcast with Smita Prakash.
अगर हम उसको मस्जिद कहेंगे तो फिर विवाद होगा.
The issue is टूटा है क्या भारत?
400 पार का मतलब ये है कि संविधान खतरे में है.
क्या हम लोग ये निर्देश देते हैं कि फला को गिरफ्तार करके जेल डाल दें?
वही तो कह रहे हैं सब.
ये बेबुनियाद निराधार आरोप.
सच्चा सुनना चाहो देखो स्मिता प्रकाश ANI. It does not lie.